All right, let's get into a story about rebuilding. Now, on the surface, it's about putting up a new temple, laying down a physical foundation. But it's really about something deeper. It's about the emotional foundation of a community that's caught right between a future full of hope and a past filled with pain.
So that's really the big question we're digging into here. Because at the exact moment the first stones were laid for this new temple, it created a sound unlike anything else. Imagine a single, massive noise that was both a shout of pure joy and, at the same time, a cry of deep sorrow. How is that even possible?
So let's set the scene. For decades, the people of Israel have been in captivity in Babylon. Now they've finally come home. But the home they've returned to, well, it's a wreck. The city is in shambles, and their sacred temple, the very heart of their world, is gone. So their first, most urgent job is to rebuild it.
But here's the thing. Before they could even dream about the grand walls of a temple, they had to start with its spiritual core. Their very first act of rebuilding wasn't about the structure itself, it was about the altar.
And you have to understand what was going on around them. They weren't rebuilding in some peaceful, quiet place. No, the text says they were surrounded by other groups, and frankly, they were scared. But instead of letting that fear shut them down, they looked it right in the eye and got to work. They built that altar right back on its original spot. It was an act of pure faith.
And they didn't waste a single second. Right away, they restarted the rhythms of their faith, the daily sacrifices, morning and evening, major holidays like the Festival of Tabernacles, all the regular offerings. They were literally bringing their community's spirit back to life before a single wall was even built.
Okay, so with that spiritual heart beating again, it was time for the really big job, laying the foundation for the house of the Lord itself. This was the next huge step, and this one was all about hope. And look, this wasn't some weekend DIY project. This was a massive operation. We're talking about raising funds for skilled workers, setting up complex trade deals to get those famous cedar logs from Lebanon, and the whole thing was officially approved by Cyrus, the king of Persia. This was the entire community, all hands on deck, working for one single purpose.
So, under the leadership of Zerubbabel and the priest Joshua, the work officially kicks off. And get this, it's only 2 years after they got back home. Can you imagine that energy, that momentum? They were not wasting any time building their future.
And this is where the story hits its emotional peak. The day the builders finally laid the foundation of the new temple, something just extraordinary happened. The physical act of building unleashed this incredible wave of human emotion.
So at first, picture a huge celebration. You've got priests in their official robes, trumpets blaring, Levites with cymbals, and everyone singing this ancient song about God's enduring love. It's a moment of pure, unfiltered joy.
But then, another sound starts to rise up, and it's completely different. The younger generation, the ones who had never seen the first temple, they're looking at this new foundation and just shouting for joy. For them, this is the beginning of everything. But the older folks, the priests and leaders who remembered the glory of that magnificent first temple, they wept. They wept loudly. Because for them, this new beginning was also a painful reminder of everything they had lost.
And this one line just perfectly captures the whole scene. The two sounds, the joyful shouts and the heartbreaking sobs, were so loud and so mixed together that they became one. You couldn't tell them apart. It wasn't joy versus sadness, it was both, all at once in a single overwhelming human roar.
And you just have to appreciate the sheer volume of this feeling. This wasn't some quiet internal moment. This was an explosion of emotion so powerful that the sound carried for miles. A true testament to the depth of both the joy and the sorrow that marked this new beginning.
So it kind of leaves us with this question, right? Every new beginning we have is built on the foundation of something that came before it. And sometimes that past includes real loss. This story really makes you think, how do we make room for both? How can we celebrate the future we're building while still honoring the grief for what we had to leave behind?